Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review Morning Briefing. It is Tuesday, the 21st of May, and like yesterday, we've got a full squad to discuss all things Rangers. First of all, Chris Jack joins us. How's it going, Chris?
Not too bad, Derek. Has the battle fever kicked in ahead of the weekend yet? It's not quite turned up to 11. For me, it has to be said.
Yeah, you and me both. Stevie Clifford also joins us for the first time this week. How's it going, Stevie?
First time in a few weeks, I think, Derek. So yeah, it's good to be back on. I would love to say that my battle fever kicked in, but I think that'll probably kick in at the start of next season. So not exactly in buoyant mood, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the moods of the majority of the supporters and those that are tuning in this morning. Without much further ado, before we talk all things Rangers, because there is plenty to talk about, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors, MPH Boilers. They've got those wonderful Viessmann boilers on offer at this moment in time. The all-important links are in the description below. They've got those flexible finance options. First-year services are free. And you also get a free internet controller as well for all you gadget lovers out there. Also, a quick word as well. You'll find on the website the second part of Joshua's exclusive interview with Dave Vos. Very interesting first part yesterday. The second part out today goes into detail about that great run to Seville and about Gio's tenure as Rangers manager. It's a fascinating read. I'd urge you to go and check it out. The link for the second part is in the description, so do go and give it a read, folks. Right, where shall we start today? Let's start on the transfer front, guys, because, of course, a number of players have already been linked with the club. We're not yet in the transfer window, but moves are afoot, with Rangers looking to bring in several players to rebuild what is a broken squad, it's fair to say. It looks like Jose Cordoba is edging ever closer. Chris, you reported, I think, was it last week that Rangers were closing in on a move. He was in attendance at the one of the recent Rangers matches at Ibrox, and I think a fee roundabout, it's a reported fee around about €4 million is what it will take to acquire him from Levski Sofia, left-sided centre-half, big strapping lad, Panama international. This looks like it's going to get, it looks like it's edging closer to being completed, this one.
I think it's an important one for Rangers to kick off. We know how weak that defence has been over the last few weeks. It was an area of strength when the manager first came in. When a number of weeks, the clean sheet record, even the shots against record was very impressive for a long time. But as the season progressed, I think the form of the back four certainly tailed off. There's been some injury issues in there also to contend with recently as well. Going into the weekend, it's far from the first choice centre-half pairing by the looks of it. So it's definitely an area that Rangers have to strengthen, and I'm pleased that it's something they're looking to do early on. I'd be lying if I said I know too much about the player. No. Hoping to get a closer look at him this week and try and speak to some people that know him and try and do a big read on him, just to try and give the fans a bit more insight into who he is, what he's like, and hopefully what he can bring to the table. But this certainly seems one that's far enough along the line for people to really start looking into him and thinking, what will he bring to the side? I say it's certainly an area that has to be strengthened. I don't think he will be the last centre-half piece of business that Rangers do ahead of the new season.
Yep, another player that was linked and looked like he was waving his goodbyes to the Rapid Bucharest fans yesterday. A player that's been heavily linked is the striker Albion Ramani, Kosovan international, and he is attracting a number of clubs. Rangers said to be keen on him as well. He's a striker, 23 years of age. He scored 17 goals and has 5 assists in 24 matches this season. Just on that, I will be speaking to a Romanian journalist a little bit later on, folks. We'll get a bit of a flavour of what he's like as a player and if he is on the plane to Glasgow. But Stevie, this is the sort of profile, sort of striker Rangers should be looking at.
Yeah, from what I'm led to believe, that there is strong interest in both of them. I think that, as you said, it's a profile we want. Both of them are at that age. They both got the kind of stats to back it up, Derek, although stats aren't everything. You know, I don't think either Chris or I could sit and claim that we are experts on these boys and weekly watching them and stuff like that. So you have to kind of go on what you can find. And obviously, you know, that analytics are such a huge part of football now, and they two are right up there. So I think I had seen yesterday, he's 17 goals or something this season, this boy. So, and that might be wrong, because I must admit, Derek, we've been linked with so many players that I don't overly stress about it until it becomes, you know, quite down the line. But I think it is true to say we're definitely interested in both these boys. It might be a wee bit more advanced than what we think, and it is the kind of players that you want to be looking at. So, yeah, as I said, like, we've done this long enough now, Derek, you and I, and Chris as well, on the review and stuff, to know that I don't think there's much point in getting really excited until it's a wee bit further down the line. So, yeah, but they certainly fit the profile. We need somebody that's naturally left-sided. Cordoba is that. He's strong. You know, there was reports maybe that he's not the best on the ball. See, to be honest, I couldn't care in the less if he's good on the ball or not. I just want some guy at the back that's going to clear his lines and actually defend. and we, you know, see, when you look at the goals that we conceded at the weekend and stuff like that, one long ball, one flick, one shot, like contact in there at all. It's desperate stuff. So let's just get guys that can actually do what they're supposed to do. Get a defender that's supposed to defend. Get a striker that puts the ball in the net, and then we can worry about the rest later.
Yeah, if only we could register them in time for Saturday. But there you go. I think Rangers have got an issue at centre half. We'll discuss that later on. A few comments coming in off the back of those players, and indeed others that have been linked. Bluebells or Blue says, is it realistic we'll get the Kosovo lad from Rapid if indeed Benfica and Villa are also in for him? Well, Rangers very much in for him as well. I'm not too aware of the level of interest from those two clubs, but we should get a bit more detail, as I mentioned, when we speak to the Rapid journalist a little bit later on. And interesting point from Ross as well. One player that was linked in the January transfer window, and he was a player I watched last week, incidentally, says, apparently us in Celtic are after Scott McKenna. No-brainer for me. Left-sided bruising centre-half is what we need. Stevie's shaking his head. Watched him for, it was at the Brøndby Copenhagen game last week. I thought he was good. Listen, it's, again, no-nonsense sort of centre-half. Kept things simple. But I guess, Chris, if Rangers are looking to get Cordoba in the door, McKenna, if Rangers were after McKenna as well, he'd also be looking to play, I'd imagine, every game. So I think the Cordoba move might cancel that one out, perhaps, or would Rangers look to bring him in also?
Go from having no left-sided centre-halves for such a long time to having two of them. that would be a very Rangers thing to be. Very Rangers thing to do. The McKenna interest in January never really got anywhere. There was never any real legs in it. So I wasn't surprised when that move then didn't happen. I thought it was actually a really interesting move for him to make the switch that he did. Fair play to him for going and trying something different. As you see, you also saw him on your jaunt just the other day there. So I'd be surprised. Any player who has a link of Rangers and Celtic, I'm always slightly wary of, because usually it's just agents trying to drum up a bit of interest, and you pitch it as an old firm battle for the signature. So if that's how it's been reported, I would say no. And also Scott McKenna, I'm not convinced he's for me and not for Rangers. So I wouldn't read a lot into that one.
Stevie's shaking his head. I guess you're not on the McKenna train, Stevie.
Listen, if there's interest from Rangers and Celtic, he's only going one place, and it's not Rangers. So I think that's enough said on Scott McKenna. I would really like it if Rangers could venture a wee bit further out than the obvious guy at the back who is Scottish and not really that great. You know what I mean? It's a no from me, Derek. Let's leave it at that and move on quite quickly.
Okay. I think he's a decent enough player, but I think if Cordoba's coming in, I think that would render that one a non-event. But who knows?
Remember when we signed Michael O'Halloran, and Michael O'Halloran just never really.
The glory days.
Yeah. So, and we all know who Michael O'Halloran supported and things like that. I'd like it if we didn't make those same mistakes again. So that's all I'm going to say about Scott McKenna.
Yeah, pretty disastrous sign. I forgot about him until you brought him up, Stevie. So thanks for that. Other players that have been linked, touched on it yesterday when I was on with Johnny and Joshua. The young South African kid is another one. 2 wingers, in fact. The Movo King was linked last week, or the week before it may have been. Rangers said to be in the driving seat, according to reports in South Africa, for his signature. 19-year-old, really highly rated, plays for Orlando Pirates in his homeland. The other boy being Adama Traore. No, not that one. Lad that plays for Ferencváros in Hungary. Again, a winger, 28 years of age. Quoted fee around £3.5 million, which seems a bit fair chunk of change for him. But I said to Joshua and Johnny yesterday, Chris, and I think I've spoke to you about it before, wingers is essential. Rangers need to bring in wide players in the summertime.
As much as I said at the start, I don't think there'll be just the one centre-half brought in. I'd be amazed if there's only the one wide player brought in as well. The manager spoke a wee bit about Sima and his future and his potential return to Rangers at his press conference last week. I think a lot depends on whether that deal is a goer or not, what fee are Brighton looking for Rangers to try and make that move permanent or to get him back up the road. I think if Rangers could do that deal, I think he's the obvious one that people would be pleased to have, and you would take him ahead of signing someone else because you know exactly what he can do, you know what he can bring to the side. We know that he should only get better. Cortez is also an interesting one as well. Do they try and exercise that potential, or do they go down that? But you're then you spend quite a lot of money to, in effect, stand still, because that just gets you the 2 wide guys that you've already got. I think they do need more options in that area of the pitch. Scott Wright moves on, Silva moves on. McCausland, I think, has earned his place in the squad. I think he's done enough to suggest that he merits a place. But Rangers certainly do need more quality. They need more options in that area of the pitch. One, mainly because that's how the manager likes to play, and 2, the squad was not built in that way last summer. Michael Beale went down a very different path. The squad was not assembled to have natural width and pace. That's the way that Clement wants to play. If that's the way he's going to play, he needs the players to go and put that plan into action. So I would like to see a number of players brought in those wide areas. Again, don't know enough about any of the names. The fact that there's this many names so early in the window, it's going to be a long old summer. I think you dropped the bombshell that we're doing these videos every day throughout the summer. I think we know what the main topic of conversation is going to be. It's just going to be a stream of names. Some will turn out to be true. About a dozen of them will turn out to be true. I think Rangers will be in the market for round about that in terms of players coming in. But there's going to be 100 names easily linked with Rangers over the course of the next few weeks, and we'll do our best to stand them up, knock them down, ignore them, write them as they happen to pop up.
Yeah, Stevie, there's a name I'm going to put to you just now. There's James is produced a name here. I'm keen to get your thoughts. It's a name that's been linked pretty much every transfer window from the last few years. He says, what about McBurney going for free? Would you be opposed to seeing Ollie McBurney at Ibrox?
Really? Genuinely, is that a real question?
I guess you're not a fan.
I really like Ollie. I think Ollie's a great guy, but I really like it if we got forwards that could actually score goals. And you know, we're prolific, and no offense to Ollie, but we've got an issue up front because we've got Dessers, we've got Danilo. He only plays one up front, so whoever he's going to bring in, you know, needs to be like a proven starting number 9. I'm not overly convinced that Ollie McBurney could be that for Rangers. Could he be a decent squad player? He probably could be, but I'm at the stage where I'm not really looking for squad players, Derek. Like, we don't need squad players. We've got plenty of squad players that are all the same level. Yeah. And that's why we're in the position we are. We need proven first-team players. And as I said, I like Ollie. I think Ollie's a great lad. And, you know, I think he could be okay as a squad player, but I want a 9 that's going to score goals, Derek. I want a 9 that's going to be first choice. I want a 9 that's going to wow us every week. Like, I'm not overly convinced that Ollie McBurnie, he goes into the kind of Scott McKenna category of they're all right, but are they really what we're looking for? I would be more excited Scottish wise if we're looking at guys. I would be more excited by Shankland than I would be Ollie McBurnie. I think that's a pretty obvious one. We talk about that one all the time. I'm not overly convinced that will happen. I would be more excited about Connor Barron. I'd be more excited about Lennon Miller. I'd be more excited about Boy Watson at Kilmarnock, etc., than I would be about any of these guys. And I'm not saying that Ollie's a bad player. That's not my point. I'm just saying that I feel like, Derek, we've taken guys that are supposed to be good and never really hit heights and stuff like that. And then they come to Rangers and we wonder why these guys don't have the legs for it anymore and stuff like that. And it's just, I'm a bit tired of. I'm more excited by the links to the young South African winger, for example, who's a really, really kind of stats and all, really quite exciting than I am about signing guys that not that they're journeymen. I don't mean it like that. I just mean that
need better.
Where's their level, right? Yeah. Their level's already where they are. So when they're coming to Rangers, where are they going to really realistically go? If you're signing guys like Cordoba, the boy Ramani, maybe the boy Mokoena, these kind of guys have not got a ceiling yet. So we're signing these guys to flip them and really turn them on and turn them into something that's really good. And I feel like if you're getting guys from the kind of Premiership, Championship that are out of contract and stuff like that, I mean, it's just, Chris, you know what I mean? We've seen so many of these guys arrive, and I don't want to criticise, but remember when Graham Dorrans arrived, Joey Barton and all that, and we were all going, this is great, and then you just watch them play and you're just like, these guys are done. That's why they've ended up here. Is that unfair, Chris? I just don't want us to make the same mistakes we have before.
No, I think the Rangers have to move in a different direction, because they've spoken a number of times about this over the course of not just this season but past seasons. I'm sure it will come up again. The transfer trading model has to be more successful this season, and if it's going to be more successful, you cannot keep doing what you've done for previous years, signing guys. I know Lundstrom has done an okay career, but likes of Lundstrom, likes of Lawrence, McKenna, McBurney, they're all of a similar level with similar backgrounds, and as Stevie says, they've already hit their ceiling. John Lundstrom was never going to come to Rangers and really kick on and become so much better. Same with Lawrence. McKenna wouldn't. McBurney wouldn't. You have to sign guys who have that potential progression in them, not just because there's any potential profit in them, but we have to see this team grow, and the team has to grow together. The team is not going to grow together if the spine of it and the core of it is only naturally going to get worse. Not because they don't care, not because they're not good professionals, but just because time catches up with them. We've seen that with players within this squad already. It needs to be a rebuild, I think, in line with Steven Gerrard in 2018. We need a squad that's got a core of players that you can rely on week after week, but you know who will get better. So when Tav was there, I know Steven didn't sign him, but you knew that Tav had his best years ahead of him. Conor Golson came in at a good age. Barisic came in at a good age. So yes, these guys have not been perfect over the course of the Rangers' careers, but there was something there you could see these guys will get better. If you sign players even just a couple of years older than that, you know that eventually the line doesn't go up all the way. It gets to a peak and then goes down. Rangers can't sign players who are at that peak and only heading down. They need to sign players that have progression in them, that potentially have a resale value in them, and that's why I think it's encouraging to see the likes of the Diomande deal. He fits that profile. Some of the names that have been linked already, they fit into that profile. That's not to say every single of the 10, 11, 12, whatever it's going to be, every single one has to be a project player, for want of a better word. You do need experienced guys within the squad, but I think it's up to the manager to get that balance right. And if you go too far the other way, and it is journeyman, I think Stevie used that phrase. It's perhaps been slightly unfair on them. I know what he was getting at, but players of a certain profile are almost destined to fail at Rangers because we've seen it over recent seasons. It's not been good enough for the track record to improve. They need to try something different.
Yeah, on the issue of McBurney, I don't think he'd have been linked had he not been a Bear, really. I think it's all because he is a dyed-in-the-wool Rangers supporter. Just off the back of what you guys were saying, Broxy Loves the Rangers review says, I'm all for new young talent for our player trading model, but I want to see a few reliable older pros with experience to help with our mentality. I think that's a fair point, Stevie. I'm all for bringing in young, hungry, exciting players, but there has to be a mix. I think we've gone overly experienced now, and I think that the squad age has to reduce, but that there is an argument to say we do need some proper old heads in there, do we not?
So I remember this exact conversation last year when we were talking about, and I was trying to balance it, a big pal of mine that I speak to every day, and we were talking about it, and he was saying it was quite frankly ludicrous for us to be spending $4 million on Cyril Dessers when he's got no sell-on value and stuff like that. Sam Lammers, who had the experience, but all the kind of stats and profile of him was that he was never ever going to succeed. And I remember sitting with you, Derek, and saying that we have to trust the manager and we have to trust John Park and stuff like that because they're the guys that go out and watch and decide. And I remember people pointing out in comments and everything about Sam Lammers and Cyril Dessers and things like that. And we said that we have to trust the manager. So there's your balance, because I was kind of saying, well, that is the experience side of it. If you're getting an experienced pro in, then it needs to be for the right reasons. And this is what I was saying. And to qualify something that I said a minute ago, and I said that Shankland would excite me more than somebody like Ollie McBurney, the reason for that is because Lawrence Shankland's tried and tested in the Premier League. It's a no-brainer kind of thing. You're not having to risk him fitting in and things like that. He's going to find the net no matter what. And you have that experience level. You have the international side of it. He's been captain at Hearts and stuff like that. So that kind of qualifies as experience for me because that's no-brainer territory. But if you're going and picking up guys with experience that we've done in the past, like Chris and I have talked about there, who are on the slide on the way down or have hit their ceiling and things like that, you get guys that you end up with guys that just don't have the legs for the Scottish game. And the Scottish game is tough. It's robust. Yeah. It's fast. You get kicked. It's 110 miles an hour. And it's why somebody like John Lundstrom has struggled at times, but then could easily go down and excel in Championship or whatever down south because he'll get more time on the ball and things like that. And because he's not needed to be the player that we are trying to make him up here. So I'm not really for going out and doing that and kind of getting that kind of profile. So, yes, do we need experience? Yeah, we do need experience, but I'm not for bringing in experience at a level where the guys are experienced, but they're on the downward kind of trend. So I think we need to be really careful about what we're doing this summer. Rangers have to get it right. And Chris talked about a dozen coming in. That's kind of the numbers I expect. I would expect a lot higher going out, but we need to be really careful about what we're doing, Derek. Because see, of that dozen, we need 10 to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the situation we're in. The manager pointed it out. He says we need it done quickly. And if we're going to be bringing in these young, talented boys like Diamandi and stuff like that, which is great. It's totally where I want to be. And I think it's where we should be shopping. But you're going to get a level of inconsistency there. You're going to get a level of, kind of indifference while they settle. There's a whole lot to put together for Clermont because of the state of the squad. So it's difficult, isn't it? I don't want us to go down the experience route just because we need experience. If we're getting somebody, at least pick somebody up that's still got something to offer the squad and isn't on the decline, which I'm not convinced that a few of the older names that have been linked with us aren't that.
Yeah, just on the back of that, folks, Stevie's got a great piece coming out on the website tomorrow just on the summer rebuild and who needs to go. So well worth keeping an eye out for that. That's out first thing tomorrow morning.
Spoiler, Derek. Who's to stay and who's to go? Who's to go category? Almost everyone who's to stay, Jack Butland and Dujon Sterling. So read that if you want some very very brutal, honest truths.
Yeah, you mentioned Sam Lammers there, Stephen. I wanted to bring this up. I'll get
10 million, Derek.
What's that?
10 million.
Aye. Bluebells are Blue says, interesting post from the Utrecht manager yesterday. Seems they're keen to make the move permanent, but could we get more elsewhere based on what he's done since he went out on loan? So I'll read you what their sporting director had to say. He's been in scintillating form for Utrecht. Their sports director is a guy called Jordi Zuildam. Hopefully that's how you should pronounce it. If any Utrecht fans on here, if I've butchered that name, then I do apologise. He says, it's clear Sam is above our salary cap, but we reached an agreement with Rangers that was acceptable to us. Now we have to find a way with Sam and his club to keep him. We are fully committed to signing Sam permanently. He is a very important member of our team. We did everything we could to bring him here on loan, and we will do everything possible to bring him here on a permanent deal. We have spoken to him several times, and he's really a boy who is obsessed with football. He has said that he wants to finish the season, but is definitely considering it. We will look for all possibilities to keep him. I hope that is enough. So, yeah, he's scoring for fun over there in the Eredivisie. And Sam Lammers will be departing in the summer, Chris. If he keeps up this form, though, there will surely be other clubs that will be keen on acquiring his services. Rangers, I'd imagine, I mean, it seemed remarkable when he was shipped out on loan that they could get their money back for him, but I think they could get their money back and then some.
Remarkable. all I've got to say on that. So absolutely nothing to suggest that Sam Lammers was going to be a Rangers player. I thought he was going to be a successful Rangers player. I saw very, very little to suggest that, as you say, Derek, they would get their money back. Every time you see an Utrecht tweet with his celebration picture, the price just goes up. I've not actually started following Utrecht on Twitter, but most of the stuff comes on the timeline all the time. It shows every time they play, it's another one, and people update the stats saying he scored this many and this many. It's quite the turnaround. He looked. For all the world, he looked a guy that Rangers would have to take a hefty loss on. I would be surprised now if Rangers don't make their money back, whether that is to Utrecht or whether that's to someone else within that division. I think he's shown that is clearly his level. Now, coming to Rangers, Stevie outlined the unique challenges, if you like, of the Scottish game earlier on. He just never looked suited for it. Didn't look comfortable here. I think the size of the club and everything that comes with being a Rangers player didn't look comfortable in that environment. Playing for Utrecht is also a very, very different way of life, very different style of football. He seems happy there, seems confident there, seems to be thriving there. So that's all good. If Rangers can make a small profit on him, it's then money and his wages reinvested back into the squad and reinvested in another signing who's hopefully going to be a whole lot more effective for us.
Yeah, an opposing view, Stevie, is this from Robert. He says, this might be a bit left field, but get Lammers back and actually play him in his right position. What do you make of that?
He's in his right position at the moment, which is as far away from Rangers as humanly possible. So if we're going to be serious about this, Derek, then Sam Lammers will never make it at Rangers. He's not suited to the Scottish game. He's not in any way a good player for us in that position. People are forgetting this is the same Sam Lammers that went round Joe Hart and hit the side net in an Old Firm game when we really needed him to score. So, no, he looked good in pre-season, which had us all fooled, myself included. I thought he was a shining light of pre-season, actually. But it was no surprise that was pre-season. As soon as he came up against Scottish kind of players and things like that, he completely fell away. So, no, I'm not interested in Sam Lammers coming back or interested in any kind of narrative about playing him in his real position. Sam Lammers will not make it at Rangers, and I'm not interested in this summer, Derek, being a bit part rebuild. We've heard it too many times. The manager says we're at the end of our cycle, which is what we all want to hear. This needs to be a ruthless summer where those out of contract, all of them, you shake your hand, say thanks very much, time for you to move on. Others that are in really big positions within the squad, captain, vice-captain, etc., shake their hand and move them on too. So I'm not in any mood to be charitable about what we need to do this summer, Derek. If Rangers want to break this cycle, and by goodness we need to break this cycle, then we need to have a ruthless summer where big decisions are made, and that includes not only Sam Lammers but most of this squad. There's no room for sentiments and there's no room for anything else. So no, you probably asked the wrong person. Chris might have given you a more diplomatic answer of how Sam Lammers has done.
We know what side of the fence you sit on, Stevie. So yeah, that's totally fine. And before we touch on Todd Cantwell, I wanted to. This has just popped up that caught my eye from Robert. He says, "Is there a time of the unveiling of the Walter Smith statue on Saturday? If any of you guys know." I'm not too sure. Do you guys know what time? I think it's going to be. It will be before the cup final, of course. I'd imagine it'll be sometime in the morning, Chris. I don't know if we know an exact time yet, though, when it's going to be unveiled.
I don't have an exact time. I know Rangers will communicate it over the next couple of days, so keep an eye on the Rangers also website and their social channels, and we'll also put the news out as well when we have it. But as you say, Derek, it will be before the final, so sometime in the morning. I'm really looking forward to seeing that statue and seeing what it's like, and obviously. No more worthy a recipient and no more fitting a recipient. So looking forward to seeing what the club have managed to do to pay tribute to Walter.
Yeah, and I'm all for Stevie's idea when we spoke about last week about renaming that area behind the Coke, maybe Walter's Way or something like that. But just keep your eyes peeled on the official club social media channels, Robert, for that. Right, other news last night, you may have seen that. Well, G. Webster with the point here, he says, a gaffer said first day he was going to look into Cantwell and his social media. That turned out well. You may have seen his Instagram post before he deleted it, of course. It was him celebrating his goal at Tynecastle at the weekend. He said it's shushburger, and it's just him celebrating with his finger to his lips. Created a bit of an outrage from supporters on social media, and he deleted said post shortly afterwards. Yes, it said shushburger, please, alongside a laughing emoji. I think the sort of phrase "read the room," Stevie, applies to this one. He does like his social media, does Todd. Got in a bit of trouble when he was down south with regards to it. A lot of fans not best pleased with his social media use down there. And up here, whether he's directing it at whoever he's tagged in that post or not, I think didn't go down too well, and I can understand fans' frustrations after it.
Yeah, thanks for coming to me first. This one, listen, I think it's a loser mentality. I really do. Yeah. I think too many in that squad and too many at Rangers are very comfortable with being second and happy to celebrate goals in games that the team have thrown away and ultimately don't matter, and draws and things like that. You see compilations at the end of the season in games from captains and all sorts that score goals in games where we've got beat, and they're all happy to champion things and do things for themselves. Rangers is about winning. So when people are doing social media stuff and everything else, do it, albeit shush the crowd, do whatever you want. But see, when you're equalising against Kilmarnock and you're shushing people and pointing to your back, or you're scoring a goal against Hearts and a dead rubber when you've already thrown the league away, doesn't impress me in the slightest. I'm sorry. And if you want that kind of mentality at Rangers, then that's absolutely fine, but it doesn't belong here. And I think that too many people have come into an acceptance of being comfortable and happy to be losers. And I was disappointed with Joe Potter yesterday with the women's side as well, saying that if you'd offered her a double at the start of the season, she would have completely grabbed it. It's completely the wrong mentality, and I'm sick of this mentality that goes throughout the club, that we're happy just to take things that we're given. And you know, somebody asked me last week, would the cup double be a good season for Rangers? Not winning the league is never a good season for Rangers. It might be consolation, but that's all it is. And it just goes to a wider point of this squad. I just don't think there's many of them in that squad that actually get it. I think that Todd Cantwell lives in a bubble at times, and clearly he doesn't read the room like you said at the start, because if that's supposed to impress anybody and he thinks that you'll get people on side or whatever, then I'm sorry, it certainly doesn't impress me, Derek, because a goal and a shushburger in a game that meant absolutely nothing and they still couldn't win. Nah, not for me, Todd.
Yeah, and there's some comments saying we shouldn't be getting offended by this, Chris, but I think it's as I touched on earlier on, it's a read the room situation. As Stevie touched on there, it's a dead rubber game. Rangers have not even won the game; they've lost the league. The optics don't look good, do they? Did it speak of it? And as he touched on there, the comments from the women's coach Joe Potter as well, does that speak of a mentality issue that needs addressed at Ibrox?
I don't think it's people or fans being offended. I think it's just fans looking for better. It's for I think the fans are looking for the players on the pitch and staff and management and everyone at the football club. The fans just want those people to have the same mentality and drive and standards and desire and will to win that they've got. The fans are quite right to expect and demand Rangers to not be challenging for silverware, but to be winning silverware, to not challenge for a league until the last 6 games, but to go on and win the league. And when those targets are missed, when those trophies aren't lifted, criticism naturally follows. And if you're a player and you don't like that criticism, if you can't handle it, if it's too heavy a weight on your shoulders, go and play somewhere else because you're in the wrong place. This is not the football club for you. This is not the city for you, and this is not the fan base for you. Rangers fans, if they believe in you, if they think that you're giving everything, if you match those traits outlined earlier on, the Rangers fans will give you the world because you deserve it and you deserve the backing. If you fall below that standard, which they set and have set for many years, and they'll continue to set for many years, if you fall below that standard, you have to accept what comes with it. And putting social media posts like that, Stevie outlined the Fabio Silva one the other day there, it's nonsense. No need for it. Do your talking on the pitch. I think the old cliche would be, it's not to say let's go back to the 70s and we'll go and run them up and down Murder Hill. And the game has moved on, obviously, but there's ways of doing it. As you both outlined, read the room in the back of a season where everything was there. If you go on and you win the league and you win the Old Firm game and you're going to win the treble, stick whatever you like on social media, have as many goal compilations and celebration compilations and shushburgers, whatever else you want to call it. Do whatever you like, but only when you've won things. When you don't, you have to take your medicine, you get your head down, you win the next game, you look forward to next season if you're lucky enough to be here, and you then go again. So I don't think the fans are being soft or being offended or looking for reasons to have a go at the players. The fans give these players the backing that they deserve. If the players don't deserve the backing, the fans don't give them it.
Here. Can't disagree with any of that. Right, folks, that'll do us here. Big thanks to Chris and to Stevie for joining us on today's show. Just a reminder, that 2-part interview with Dave Vos that Joshua did is on the website, both parts, so do go and check it out. If you haven't subscribed to the Rangers Review, now is the time to do so. Just £4 for 4 months. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. Right, we'll be, as I mentioned, I'll be back later on to get a bit of a insight into Albion Rahmani. So that'll be interesting around about 3 o'clock this afternoon, folks. Hopefully you can join us for that. And if not, we'll be back tomorrow. So enjoy your Tuesday. Bye for now.